ordeal, and patient self discipline. So long as desire is strong, equality cannot come at all except in periods of quiescence and the fatigue of desire. And it is then more likely to be an inert indifference or desires recoil from itself than the true calm and the positive spiritual oneness. Moreover, this discipline or this growth into equality of spirit has its necessary epochs and stages. Ordinarily, we have to begin with a period of endurance, for we must learn to confront, to suffer, and to assimilate all contacts. Each fibre in us must be taught not to wince away from that which pains and repels, and not to run eagerly towards that which pleases and attracts, but rather to accept, to face, to bear, and to conquer. All touches we must be strong to bear, not only those that are proper and personal to us, but those born of our sympathy or our conflict with the worlds around, above or below us, and within their peoples. We shall endure tranquilly the action and impact on us of men and things and forces, the pressure of the gods and the assaults of titans. We shall face and engulf in the unstirred seas of our spirit all that can possibly come to us down the ways of the soul's infinite experience. This is the stoical period of the preparation of equality, its most elementary and yet its heroic age. But this steadfast endurance of the flesh and heart and mind must be reinforced by a sustained sense of spiritual submission to a divine will. This living clay must yield not only with a stern or courageous acquiescence, but with knowledge or with resignation, even in suffering, to the touch of the divine hand that is preparing its perfection. A sage, a devout, or even a tender stoicism of the God lover is possible, and these are better than the merely pagan, self reliant endurance which may lend itself to a too great hardening of the vessel of God. For this kind prepares the strength that is capable of wisdom and of love. Its tranquility is a deeply moved calm that passes easily into bliss. The gain of this period of resignation and endurance is the soul strength equal to all shocks and contacts.
So, right in the beginning itself, he has told you that equality is not at all a very easy thing to get. So, we must not imagine that I am equal to everything. You may pretend to be equal, and there are many things which are very similar to samatha, but actually it's not that easy at all. That's all. I have made a note also of something that we'll have a look at that. So, this equality, and again what is the concept of equality? You are not affected by anything, pleasant or unpleasant. Okay, it doesn't mean to say that you become hard-hearted. That's a very important thing which is discussed later in the para also. Normally, if you are not affected by anything, it can be also very negative. That means you are so insensitive that you are not affected by anything at all. But that's a negative state. Okay, you have to be sensitive, but still not be affected. Not easy at all. Okay, so this is what is it. This equality cannot come except by protracted ideal and patient self-discipline. Protracted ordeal, just see that. Okay, protracted, very long. It can go on to many lives also. And self-discipline. So long as desire is strong, that's the touchstone to know how much you have succeeded in having this equality, samatha. Okay, so long as desire is strong, equality cannot come at all, except in periods of quiescence and the fatigue of desire. When the desire is you are disgusted with it, there is a withdrawal from, you are too tired to even pursue your desire. Okay, so then it can become on periods of quiescence. Then, and it is then more likely to be an inert indifference or desires recoil from itself, that the true calm and positive spiritual oneness. There you are. So you may, it's very easy to fool oneself to see that it doesn't make any difference to me. Okay? And just 1 minute, page 96. Yeah, there I'll read out to you the pretensions of the equality. Okay, so I made a note of that, and we'll see. Srimad has mentioned what things you can mistake for equality. Okay, so very interesting. Ordinarily, we have to begin with a period of endurance. So Srimad says that there are 3 stages in the development of samatha, some development of equality. So first of all, briefly I'll tell you because he's going to go over several pages on that. The first stage is endurance. You have to endure the shocks of what is coming in from the outside world, and even your own thoughts sometimes can disturb you. So this is the first period is endurance, stoical period. Okay, so to give very easy examples. Okay, so even at mental level, even at the vital level, and even at the physical level. In the mental level, if someone is giving you an idea which you don't like at all and you reject violently, you have to just see the thought for what it is. Somebody is talking to you and they have expressed a view. You must not be affected by it. You must be able to look at that view objectively. It's not easy. Objectively, it's not possible. But we have to try. So there is a period of endurance. At the vital level, someone can insult you or someone can praise you. Okay? Insulting is, you can pretend that you are not affected, but it will definitely affect you. And even praise. Praise probably is more difficult to not to react to and remain calm and quiet than insult. Insult you can ignore. You can pretend to yourself that you are not affected. But when praise is there, you will definitely take it. Okay? So that is a difficult thing. So then at the physical level, even a mosquito bite that gives you, you must absolutely remain unaffected. I have a neighbor who is highly disturbed by mosquitoes. In fact, in one of the evening talks, okay, there are mosquitoes, and someone was complaining in the evening talks that mosquitoes are very disturbing. So Srimad jokingly said, "Oh, you want a mosquito-less yoga." So even that has to heat. Everybody complains in summer of heat. Okay, you must be able to bear it. Or my neighbor is constantly complaining of too much rain. Oh, Baba, so much rain. How to? We can't go out of the house. So all these things we have to face equally, absolutely. Try to be absolutely unaffected by it. This is the first stage. The second stage is when you have gone up into the higher mind level where you are absolutely not attached to your body-mind life. That's the second stage. Sendra calls it high-seated impartiality. It's a philosophical period. Okay, high-seatedness. Okay, it's a udasina, seated above in the Gita, and also kutasar. Kuta is the summit. So you're sitting on the summit and looking down at the things that are not being affected. That's the second level only of the equality. The third level is the divine equality, the supreme period. Okay. Then at that time, you can get peace and bliss. Mind you, the second level, when you are equally, you may not get power and you may not get also ananda. You may not get, because it's only peace. They are absolutely peaceful. But the third level, you will get even bliss because the foundation has been laid. So these are the 3 stages, and in this parasem we are discussing only the first stage. Okay, so ordinarily we have to begin with a period of endurance. And I can tell you, Srimad for the physically, he used to walk on the hot terrace in summer barefooted. It was in guest house, he used to do that. Okay, so it sounds very ordinary physical thing that one can bear, but it's not that easy at all. On my terrace in summer, it becomes unbelievably hot. I have tried to do that, walk with bare feet, and you have to rush back, so it burns you. Okay, so same those doing that. Okay, so practicing. For we must learn to confront, to suffer, and to assimilate all contacts. To assimilate means not reject, but let it come into you. Okay? But it leaves you unaffected. Assimilate. The word is very interesting. You are not rejecting. Equality does not mean you reject the heat and the insults. You don't. You have to assimilate it. Let it come in. But you are not affected at all. Each fiber in us must be taught not to wince away from that which pains and repels, but rather to accept, to face, to bear, and to conquer. This is stage one. All touches, they must be strong to bear. Not only those that are proper and personal to us, but those born of our sympathy and our conflict with the world around, above or below us, and with their peoples. Above or below us, and with their peoples. With the people means the worlds which are inhabited by the peoples. Okay? You may find that funny because the vital worlds are full of beings which affect us, even unconsciously. And even the gods are interacting with us. Okay? But we don't know it. They are interacting constantly. In the Life Divine, he has made a very, very clear statement that all these worlds which are supra-physical, they are inhabited by beings who are constantly interacting with us. In our scriptures, we have these things. So the sages even are attacked by the apsaras. Okay, so to test how firm is your peace and your equality. So there, that's what Sylvia is saying here. That's why this peoples means exactly that. Okay, so otherwise you might feel, what is this people suddenly coming from where? Okay, I'll read that sentence again. Okay, all touches we must be strong to bear, not only those that are proper and personal to us, okay, but those born of our sympathy or our conflict with the worlds around. The worlds around. And where are these worlds? They are above or below us and with their peoples. Okay? They are, all these worlds are populated by beings. The vital worlds are populated by elves and gnomes and small, small creatures, elemental creatures, and the other worlds are, there are asuras even. Okay? 1 second, my phone is ringing. Yes, Praful. Bonjour. Ah. Okay. 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 I understand fully well, Praful. I'll do that. Okay. Okay. Bye. So there you are. So uh, these are all affecting us all the time. So, we shall endure tranquilly the action and impact on us of men and things and forces. There you are. So when it comes to men, interaction and things, okay, even by mistake, when you're ironing, the iron hits your by chance you touch it and it starts burning your skin. Okay, it happened to me many times. And forces. Okay, even the forces are in the physical world, strong winds and this and that, and the illnesses that come into you, all these things. You must be absolutely calm and calm. The pressure of the gods and the assault of titans. Now, you nowadays you see in sports, okay, when you win, they start doing all sorts of things like that. They do when you win a point in tennis, What exhilaration is there? So all that must not be there. Absolutely calm and quiet. So, and the assault of readiness. We shall face and engulf in the unstirred seas of our spirit. Look at the language, okay? The seas of our spirit. All that can possibly come to us down the ways of the soul's infinite experience. Yes. So many things. It depends on the soul at which level it is. So infinite experience is possible. Even at the lowest level, you have to start developing your samatha at the lowest level. This is a stoical period of the preparation of equality. It's most elementary and yet it's heroic age. Heroic age because you have to make the most strict discipline and it's a very difficult period. You have to do that. Okay. Stoicism is again the same thing. The capacity to bear something without being affected. That is stoicism. There's even I think Zeno. Zeno was a Greek philosopher who taught stoicism. Learn to bear the shocks of life. Learn to bear everything that is coming in from outside. That is stoicism. This is the stoical period of the preparation of equality. Preparation, not even equality. It's most elementary and yet it's heroic age because the effort has to be maximum at that time. But this steadfast endurance of the flesh and heart and mind, there you are very clearly physically, emotionally, and mentally. Okay, endurance must be there. Must be reinforced by a sustained sense of spiritual submission to the divine will. Okay? So already, whatever is coming to you, think of it as though divine is sending it to you, even the painful things. This is the, in Sri Yoga, it is surrender. Okay? The surrender corresponds to this. Sri integral yoga can be summed up in 3 movements. First movement, remembrance of the divine or aspiration, upwards. This is upwards, okay? Aspiration. Second is surrender. All that happens to you, take it as though it is coming from the divine, okay? And try to see why it is coming without being disturbed. Normally we get disturbed and we start revolting, but that should not be. This is the surrender part. And the next one is the rejection below. All that is an obstruction to you has to be rejected. Sri integral yoga can be summed up in this way. Aspiration, rejection, surrender and rejection. He has spoken about this in the Mother. Okay, so that's why I'm just repeating. So this is the surrender part. Sustained sense of spiritual submission is a surrender to a divine will. This living clay must yield not only with a stern or courageous acquiescence, but with knowledge or with resignation, even in suffering, to the touch of the divine hand that is preparing its perfection. So, sometimes the divine sends you difficulties precisely so that it's a training ground for you to bear the shocks and the pains of all these things. So, divine is not giving you pain in a power spirit at all. He is giving it to you so that you can develop your capacity to withstand that difficulty and pain. So that's what we have to understand. Now look at this living clay. The physical body is nothing but matter, but it is living. So living clay must yield not only with a stern or courageous acquiescence. There is a surrender. Okay? It must accept what is coming in. And if you can do it with knowledge, it's very good. Or sometimes you say, okay, I may not understand why it is coming, but I agree to it. Okay, that's a resignation. Even in suffering, to the touch of the divine hand that is preparing its perfection. If you read Mother's prayers and meditations, okay, in one place she said, "O thou whom I cannot understand but love." Okay, so I'm not using the exact word, but cannot understand is there. So then it is resignation if you cannot understand. Okay, but love. Okay, so with knowledge, if you can, very good. Then you know why you have to withstand it. And with resignation, even if you don't understand, accept what the divine is sending you. Even in suffering. to the touch of the divine hand that is preparing its perfection. Now this is interesting, to the touch of the divine hand, in the mother, he says, he talks about Durgas, okay? Mahakali, Mahasaraswati, Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. So Mahakali, he says, her hand is always raised to strike and to succor, okay, and to help. Then when the hand is raised to strike, it's out of intense compassion for you, that I'm going to give you pain so that you learn how to bear the pain. So you must always think in that way. Okay, so divine hand that is preparing to perfect. It's perfect. A sage, wise, a devout, and even a tender stoicism of the God lover is possible. And these are better than the merely pagan self-reliant endurance which may lend itself to a too great hardening of the vessel of God. Precisely that's the danger, that when you try to become equal to all these things, a certain hardness and insensitivity may come up. Okay? That's very likely at this stage. You become insensitive. You brush everything under the carpet and don't pay attention to it. That's not equality at all. Okay? But that's what's likely to happen. Then merely pagan self-reliant endurance. Why pagan? Because you may not have any spiritual life in you, but you are telling yourself the stoicism. You are telling yourself that you must withstand all these things. Okay? It may not be anything religious at all or even spiritual. But a tender stoicism is a very interesting word he is using. I don't understand why the divine is doing this to me, but I accept it. I surrender to it. Okay? So tender stoicism. He has given you two levels. One is the knowledge, which is very good, or if you don't understand, is a resignation. Okay? So a sage and devout or even a tender stoicism of the God lover is possible. And these are better than the merely pagan. Pagan means, actually the word is used is non-Christian, but you can say non-religious. Here it is used in the sense of non-religious. Self-reliant endurance, which may lend itself to a too great hardening of the vessel of God. So you may feel, I must learn to withstand so that I suffer less. But there's nothing to do with the spiritual thing. So you have to be very careful. It can easily go into that. Then, for this kind, prepares the strength that is capable of wisdom and of love. So if you harden yourself, then it will lead you to an insensitive heart. Okay? But if you think of it as God is sending it to me, then that hardening may not come. Okay? Knowledge may not be there, but it will come. For this kind, prepares a strength that is capable of wisdom and of love. Its tranquility is a deeply moved calm that passes easily into bliss. The gain of this period of resignation and endurance is a soul's strength equal to all shocks and contacts. Now, this first period, okay, he has warned you against what is not equality. Okay, so I'm just reading it to you. It's very interesting. It's in the synthesis on 96. What can pretend to be equality but actually is not. I am reading from the synthesis only, okay? Page 96 of SABCL. There are certain semblances of an equal spirit which must not be mistaken for the profound and vast spiritual equality which the Gita teaches. There is, first of all, there is equality of disappointed resignation. Okay? Now that's a very interesting thing. There's a study in psychology actually. The equality of disappointed resignation. Okay, first. Second is equality of pride. Third is equality of hardness and indifference. So these things we must not mistake for samatha. What is the equality of disappointed resignation? Okay. There is a very interesting story. which illustrates it, but I'll tell you the story later on. First of all, I am expecting a very good result. Okay. In suppose I have done an examination and I am expecting a very good result. But the result is not as you expected. So then you tell yourself, if you are quite a interesting person, you will say, oh, it doesn't make any difference to me. Okay. But actually you are hurt within. Okay. So equality of disappointed resignation. There is even a Aesop's fables which explains this quality, okay, this nature. The fox and the grapes, if you remember. Yes,
The grapes are sour.
I couldn't hear you, Tarikan.
The grapes are sour. That one.
That's right. That's the story. So the fox is jumping and trying to get the grapes, but cannot. He wants to eat the grapes, but when he can't do that, he consoles himself by saying, "Oh, they are sour anyway. I don't bother about it." So there is the equality of disappointed resignation. The other one is equality of pride. Okay? I am too proud to be affected by anything. I am my personality is very strong, and I stand on my own feet. I am not affected by anything. Even if you fail in an exam, you have the equality of pride. This is not real equality. So I'm just giving examples. And the last one is easy to understand: equality of hardness and indifference. A very stupid fellow who is very indifferent, he gets a kick and he doesn't even know what has happened. He is so insensitive that makes no difference to him. Okay, so these are the three which must not be mistaken for equality. We have just given very clearly this. Okay, so that's right. So that completes the para. This is the first period. The second period, even and note interestingly that even when you go to the self, the Brahmic consciousness, that equality also is not the ultimate stage because you won't get ananda. The ananda will come only at the third level, okay, with bhakti. So the second stage is when you rise in spiritual consciousness and go to the Brahmic consciousness, nothing affects you anymore. You are absolutely calm and quiet. Peace is there, but not necessarily ananda. You may get ananda, it depends on the individual, but very often it is not there. That comes only at the third level. Okay. Now we can read the next bar. There's a second, the next period of high-seated impartiality. So, one of you has to read.
Shall I read?
Okay, go ahead. There is next a period of high-seated impartiality.
There is next a period of high-seated impartiality and indifference in which the soul becomes free from exaltation and depression and escapes from the snare of the eagerness of joy as from the dark net of the pangs of grief and suffering. All things and persons and forces, all thoughts and feelings and sensations and actions, one's own no less than those of others, are regarded from above by a spirit that remains intact and immutable and is not disturbed by these things. This is the philosophic period of the preparation of equality, a wide and august movement. But indifference must not settle into an inert turning away from action and experience. It must not be an aversion born of weariness, disgust and distaste, a recoil of disappointed or satiated desire, the sullenness of a baffled and dissatisfied egoism forced back from its passionate arms. These recoils come inevitably in the unripe soul and may in some way help the progress by a discouragement of the eager, desire driven vital nature. But they are not the perfection towards which we labor. The indifference or the impartiality that we must seek after is a calm superiority of the high seated soul above the contacts of things. It regards and accepts or rejects them, but is not moved in the rejection and is not subjected by the acceptance. It begins to feel itself near, kin to, one with a silent self and spirit, self existent and separate from the workings of nature, which it supports and makes possible. Part of or merge into the motionless, calm reality that transcends the motion and action of the universe. The gain of this period of high transcendence is the soul's peace, unrocked and unshaken by the pleasant ripplings or by the tempestuous waves and billows of the world's movement.
Again, a very interesting paragraph, very, very subtle. Then some things are very, very subtle. We'll have a look at that. So, this is the period when you have lost your identification with the body, mind, life, and you have gone up. So you would feel that, oh, that's perfect equality. It's not perfect according to Sri Aurobindo. It is perfect according to many normal yogas because you're not affected by anything. Your contact with the body, mind, life is gone. The body, mind, life is suffering and enjoying all these contacts with the world. Okay? With men and things and objects and animals, as you said. But it's a imperfect according to Sri Aurobindo because you will get bliss, and bliss you can get only when you go to the third level. You can get in the second one, but it's not invariable. But in the third level, bliss is sure. Peace must allow bliss to come in. Peace sometimes can be a neutral peace, neither suffering nor pleasure nor pain. Then this is the second period. Then we have next a period of high-seated impartiality. You are seated on the summit and you're looking down at everything. Even your body, mind, life, you're looking down at it. And indifference, high-seated impartiality and indifference, okay, in which the soul becomes free from exaltation and depression and escapes from the snare of the eagerness of joy. Okay, so as from the dark net of the pangs of grief and suffering. Both the things you will avoid. So many children ask me, then what is the point of going to the Brahmic consciousness if you don't enjoy? Okay, so you have to tell them that's only a first stage. Your enjoyment at the lower level, you may feel is very good, but it's going to give you pain also because of the dualities. But when you go to the middle level of the, you're eliminating both, okay, exaltation as well as pain and suffering. Then the third level will give you now pure pleasure, not impure pleasure at level 1. The impure pleasure at level 1 will give you also suffering. But now, no suffering and only pleasure, only pain, only bliss. Okay, so that's just like eagerness of joy, as from the dark net of the pangs of grief and suffering. All things and persons and forces, see, objects, men and forces, all thoughts and feelings and sensations, okay, again, mental, vital, physical. Thoughts, mental, feelings, vital, sensations, physical, and actions, one's own, no less than those of others, are regarded from above by a spirit that remains intact and immutable. The word immutable immediately suggests to you the Brahmic consciousness, and is not disturbed by these things. This is a philosophic period of the preparation of equality, a wide and august movement. August means very noble, high-seated. But indifference must not settle into an inert turning away from action and experience. Now, this is normally what happens in the normal yogas. When they go to the self, the Brahmic consciousness, for them, that's the end of the path. You are liberated from the pains and sufferings and everything from the physical world, the ignorance, you are liberated. So that's the end of the journey for most people. But now Sri is saying, don't run away from the physical world. Okay, so you get that equality, but this must not become indifference. This indifference must not settle into an inert turning away from action and experience. Mostly that's what happens. People don't want to I think I told you once that I had a co-worker in the press, and he entered this cosmic, Brahmic consciousness for about 6-7 months. Okay, and it was difficult to drag him to work. He would not go easily, so we had to drag him to work. One loses interest in everything in the physical world. Everything you lose interest in, also food. Okay, he suddenly started eating very little. Okay, so in fact, if you are invited somewhere and he is eating very little, then you feel a little awkward in eating normal even food. Okay, this is what happened. So you must not turn away from action and experience, but it happens. It does happen. It must not be an aversion born of weariness, disgust, and distaste. The physical world is sometimes you can be disgusted with things, and distaste also can come in, but that should not be. You should be absolutely equal-minded to all these things. That's what he said. It must not be an aversion born of weariness, disgust, or distaste. A recoil of disappointed or satiated desire. Okay? The word is from satisfaction is you have just got enough pleasure, but satiation is over satisfaction. Okay? Going to almost disgust. Okay? Satiated. The word is, this is English, it is TI is pronounced as sh. Okay, so satiation, satiated desire. Too much you have taken. The sullenness of a baffled and dissatisfied egoism. Sullenness, a certain, you become a little, pull back yourself, okay? Sullenness of disappointed egoism, forced back from its passionate aims. Okay? You feel a little disappointed again. These recoils come inevitably in the unripe soul. So when we use the word unripe soul, we often use the word child soul, and the adult soul, and the adolescent soul. The three stages. Unripe soul is the child soul, and the adolescent soul is the one developing, and the adult soul is the one who is realized. Okay? Unripe soul, and may in some way help the progress of a discouragement, by discouragement of a eager, desire-driven vital nature. So it can help, even if it is negative. Okay? But they are not the perfection towards which we labor. The indifference or the impartiality that we seek after is a calm superiority of the high-seated soul above the contact of things. There is a footnote there, udasina. Ud-asina. Asina is seated. Ud is above. So seated above. Chandra is actually used the words, it's from the Gita. Okay? High-seated soul. And also there is another word in the Gita, kutastha. Situated on the summit. Kutastha. Okay? So these are the two words used in the Gita, Chandra is using them. It regards and accepts or rejects. Now that's very interesting. Okay? It can see and not be affected, or it can accept without being affected, or it can reject also by not being affected. Okay? If someone insults you, you reject it calmly, quietly, without being affected. Or if someone praises you also, you reject the praise, but you don't feel overjoyed because someone is praising you. Okay, so there is the thing. But this is not, that's exactly what the rejection and the acceptance must not, it must be absolutely neutral. You must not be affected at all by it. It regards, number one, accepts, number two, or rejects, number three. Then, but is not moved in the rejection and is not subjected by the acceptance. It begins to feel itself near, kin to, one with the silent self and spirit, self-existent and separate from the workings of nature. Separate from the workings of nature, very clear, you are separated from your body, mind, life. which it supports and makes possible. Part of or merged in the motionless, calm reality that transcends the motion and action of the universe. So here the transcendental consciousness, where you are not affected by even your body-mind life or even the world's forces. The gain of this period of high transcendence is the soul's peace. You get peace, but you may not get Ananda, as I said. Therefore, you have to go to even higher up, unrocked and unshaken by the pleasant ripplings or by the tempestuous waves and billows of the world's movement. Look at the words, pleasant ripplings, even the smallest of pleasures. Just rippling, very small pleasures. That also must not be there. Or the tempestuous waves and billows of the world's movement. And the tempestuous waves can be pleasant and unpleasant. What Shiva is saying, from the smallest vibrations to the highest vibrations, nothing must affect you. The pleasant ripplings, the smallest, and the tempestuous waves and billows, the largest. Nothing must affect you. So, it's 8:40, we have passed by 2 minutes, so we'll stop here today. Next time, Sonki, note down if we can pass through these two stages. The third
Yes,
stage
I'll
is,
make it.
the third stage is what Sri Rama calls it Purushottama level. The Gita also calls it that. There you will get Ananda, peace with Ananda. At our level, if you get Ananda, there is no peace. We are excited. But there is deep Ananda, but deep peace also. Just try to make a difference between the two. Our pleasures are always a disturbance. But there the pleasure is, becomes Ananda, absolutely no disturbance at all. Okay, so we stop here today. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Ranga.